Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I'm your host Faisal Raza Khan and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, Pakistan is going through very testing and challenging times of its history. It is just because of our covert eastern enemy, India. Because of India's hegemonic and nefarious designs, India just imposed the war on Pakistan. It was not only thwarted but also won because of the national unity, the intelligent thinking of our leadership, and because of the valiant and brave armed forces. Pakistan is confronting lots of challenges, including the voter terrorism, the state-sponsored terrorism and target killing of Pakistanis and civilians inside Pakistan, and also the Kashmir issue. Now, in all these challenges, or to confront these challenges effectively, it is important that Pakistan has to gear up its diplomatic efforts, particularly across the world. And pertaining to that, the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has constituted a delegation, a team under the former Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. But not only the parliamentarians, our retired diplomats, our missions abroad, our policy makers, our think tanks, Pakistanis and Kashmiri diaspora across the world, they must have to join hands to have effective diplomacy for Pakistan, for Kashmir, across the world. And particularly related to the Indus Water Treaty, Indian nefarious designs, Indian state-sponsored terrorism, which India is actually using as a tool of its foreign policy, and the target killing across Pakistan. We have to join hands to effectively push the nefarious designs of India against Pakistan. To talk on this very important subject, we have in our studios Mr. Advocate Khudayar Mohla. He is a legal expert. Thank you very much, Khudayar Mohla sir, for your presence here.
Thank you very much.
We have Mr. Adeel Bashir. He is the senior journalist. Thank you very much, Adeel, for your presence here. And online joining us, Dr. Waseem Ishaque. He is an international affairs analyst. Thank you very much, Dr. Waseem, for your presence. My first question to you, Adeel, related to, you must have heard about the Indian Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal in reply to a question said the investigation into the Pahalgam attack still ongoing. Means India had no proof at that time when India launched an attack on Pakistan, and that was totally a false flag operation. It depicts that still after nearly a month they don't have any proof of or even the investigation gone to its conclusion. The Modi regime used actually the media and military as its political tool. Then it clearly means India attacked Pakistan without any proof, killed innocent Pakistani civilian women, children and elderly. Is it not the act of terrorism?
Thank you so very much. This is very important on a daily basis. The statement of Indian administration, basically external minister India, is being changed on daily basis. Rightly, you pointed out that the external minister, on one hand, in past, expressed that Pakistan is involved in this Pahalgam incident, a terror attack. But on the other hand, now he's speaking or he's sharing his views with the whole world that investigation is being going on. So, what's the strategy of India? This is very important to discuss right here. Indian administration, right after Pahalgam incident, did a job that on one hand, Indian administration took all those sticks against Pakistan, to sharing Pakistan is involved in that, and on the other hand, Indian media is also involved in that, against bashing against Pakistan. So I think this is very important. On one hand, you are sharing that investigation is going on, and on the other hand, you have no proof, and you are saying that Pakistan is involved in it. So this is a question mark itself on the external ministry or external foreign ministry of
even at the Modi government, because it is up to the Modi government where the agencies were and how it comes that after even a month, their investigation is going on, and even the people who they actually blame that those were involved not apprehended, unfortunately. So what kind of the state, what kind of the government? It means that it was all false flag operation and mishandled actually, and to cover it up, actually they attacked Pakistan.
Yeah.
Khudayar Mohla, do you not think that India ruined actually the UN Charter's Article 2, Clause 4, which prohibits any state from using force against any other state? Specifically, it states that all UN members must refrain from threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any other state. This provision is a fundamental principle of the international law and is intended to maintain international peace and security. How do you respond to this one?
Actually, India has violated all the international instruments, covenants, the United Nations General Assembly resolutions, United Nations Security Council resolution. This is the glaring violation of the sheer violation of the fundamental rights as well as the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. The Article 6 particularly, ICCPR Article 6, which provides the rights to life, and Article 7, which provides the right of peace, the peace in the vicinity. So India has violated every instrument, every law, and with his wishes, because India wanted to resolve the issues unilaterally, which is not possible in the present regime. No one can survive in the isolation, you know. And this is the term of the globalization. Everybody has to the integrated approach for the resolving of the issues through the confidence building measures. So this is the time. I must recommend, rather than fulfilling the wishes, this is the time to act upon and abide by the international fora and international instruments, the United Nations Charter, and the relevant provisions of the United Nations Charter. If there is any issue, that must be resolved through the proper channel, through exhausting the jurisdiction of the proper forum. So I must say, this is the high time for India to violate the territory, the peace, the right of life under the pretext of so and so terrorism to attack the civilian. This is the grave violation of the fundamental rights as well as violation of the sovereignty of the state.
Means the international law and the UN Charter.
Yeah.
Adeel, after Indian states sponsoring global and the regional terrorism, target killings in Pakistan, Canada, United Kingdom and other countries, and terrorist attacks through its now Modi's Godi media, and even the Godi military. India is now having diplomatic surge through their parliamentarians, the technocrat delegation, which they announced to make a terrorism case against Pakistan across the world. Islamabad also decided to send its parliamentary delegations across the world. A comprehensive briefing was already given to them. How do you see these moves? A belligerent country, a country which is state sponsoring terrorism as a tool of its foreign policy, but they are showing themselves or pleading themselves as a victim. How do you see this victim card playing India?
This is very important and this is very right time. It's a right time for Pakistan to highlight, to frame basically the activities of Indian administration, especially RAW, being involved in target killing in Pakistan, being involved in terrorism in Pakistan through their proxies like RSS, like BLA. So these all are proxies which are being used by India to launch terrorism against Pakistan, against civilians of Pakistan. So this is very right time that Islamabad, the government of Pakistan, has decided to send a delegation in the leadership of ex-Foreign Foreign Minister, belongs to People's Party, Bilawal Bhutto. So this is very right time. You have to prove yourself. You have to prove your all angles on international level just to expose all pictures which are being taken by India in context of terrorism. So this is very positive and this is right time for Pakistan to do that.
Your point well taken. Dr. Waseem, the situation is clearly depicted that by the Western and especially the US media. According to them, the Indian fascist Modi regime has given orders to the relevant authorities to build infrastructure to stop flow of water towards Pakistan and divert it towards other rivers and tributaries through canals to irrigate their own lands. While Pakistan already announced that it clearly that it will be an act of war, now India started doing it. Do you not think that world must have to come forward, otherwise Pakistan has to take unilateral actions to get its water share before it gets too late?
Opportunity. I think it's a very pertinent question in evolving our geostrategic and overall regional environments in which we have seen a fascist regime in India which has been trying to violate all the international norms and rules. But unfortunately, it is not for the first time that this Pahalgam incident gave a trigger for Prime Minister Modi to do and say that Indus Water Treaty has been held in abeyance. I have been following his speeches since last more than a decade. At every national gathering, he has been saying, whether it was the right time or not, has always been using a phrase that Pakistan will be deprived of its water. So therefore, water war has always been on its agenda one way or the other. So therefore, since last about 15 years, he has made a mind of his society that war against Pakistan will now be waged in the domain of water, along with the normal conventional and subconventional. So therefore, using this Pahalgam as just a trigger, went ahead on a unilateral abrogation of Indus Water Treaty, which they have used a very careful term of held in abeyance. While we have seen that the World Bank has a facilitating role and World Bank has already given their version that such international agreements cannot be just put in abeyance by the wish of one individual or one government. So therefore, it has huge international implications. Now, India has gone a step further and has ordered to build the infrastructure. While I foresee from my professional judgment from near to short term, probably the status quo would prevail because constructing those infrastructure for obstructing Pakistan's share of water would take a long time, minimum 5 to 10 years. However, this is the right time for all of us, and as we have already constituted several parties and several groups to go around inside the world capitals and tell the people that how much irresponsible India is in terms of its launching a conventional attack against Pakistan without having a proof. And also side by side, we should also be projecting Pakistan's water dilemma, being a lower riparian, and the kind of irresponsible behavior which India has shown in terms of unilateral held in abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty. And I think there is no other option for us to use all elements of national power at national level as well as at the international level to apprise the international community, the great powers and the international institutions, and tell them that this is the wrong step which India has taken. And as India has been defeated thoroughly on the battlefield, the same way India will also be defeated on this waterfront. So therefore, we have already declared it as an act of war. Now we should mobilize all elements of national power to make it sure to convey to Prime Minister Modi no uncertain terms that this is an act of war and we would certainly take our water share. If you don't give it like this, then we take it by force. So therefore, international community and especially the good offices of Russia, China, and United States should be taken into confidence, and they should be conveyed our resolve that if we are brought to a point, then we would go to the extent of getting our water share through act of war if the India has committed, so we launch a counterattack. Thank you.
Your point well taken. Mohla Sahib, taking forward basically, the Indus Water Treaty, Article 12, Clause 4, negate Indian move of unilateral suspension. World Bank can intervene as a guarantor or a mediator. It can invoke the court of arbitration. Pakistan can go to the United Nations Security Council under UN Charter Article 6 as stopping or diverting water is going to be a dangerous move and a clear threat to peace. Pakistan also have the option to knock the door of International Court of Justice and build a case and invoke Pacta Sunt Servanda under Vienna Convention, the law of treaties. How do you see that? Your thoughts on it, please.
We have to understand the jurisdictional issues. International Court of Justice will invoke the jurisdiction of International Court of Justice. That's the volunteer jurisdiction. I think, as per the law, this is the sheer violation of the pact. Of course, Indus Water Treaty is one of the sustainable agreement, sustainable pact in the vicinity, I used to say. We cannot invoke directly the jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice because that is the volunteer. Yes, for the advisory purpose we can go for it, but this is the high time to communicate, to call the immediate attention of the guarantor, who is the World Bank. There is a mechanism, because without following the procedural mechanism, we cannot go like our wishes, we cannot flourish our wishes. First of all, we have to talk with the people at the helm of affair of the World Bank. Then we will, the World Bank, then the neutral expert must be there, as per the pact of the permanent commission which has been formed in a result of the Indus Water Treaty 1960, which took place, both the countries ratified there in Karachi. So World Bank already the proceedings are there.
But Mohla Sahib, the problem is that unilaterally it's kind of a suspension from the Indian side.
Of course.
Now, do you think that appointment of a neutral expert is going to be a solution, and that is going to be, because that gives an ample time to India to actually go for any sort of a diversion or stoppage?
Absolutely, you are right that they are buying the time.
Yes.
Under the pretext of appointment of the neutral expert. But already I wanted to complete my sentence that neutral expert has been appointed. World Bank has also invoked the jurisdiction of the Court of Arbitration, which is so far resultless. So this is the high time to talk with the people who are sitting at the helm of affair of the World Bank, who is the guarantor of this agreement, basically, guarantor of the pact. So we must ask to the guarantor of the pact that this is your responsibility to ensure that there is no unilateral suspension of the water treaty, because nothing has been mentioned in the water treaty that unilateral suspension. It is possible only and only because there are so many examples in the past. Pakistan and India agreed for so many issues for the management of the water resources, but that was the exercise under the edges of the bilateral discussion. So it imposed bar over a country to suspend treaty. As you know, Pakistan located in the downstream of the eastern water. We must have to understand two segments of this water treaty. One is the eastern river, other one is the western river. Pakistan is the custodian of the western river, which includes Jhelum, Chenab and Indus, as well as India is the custodian of the eastern rivers, which
Ravi,
Byas and Satluj. So basically it seems this is a height of politics, seems. I am recalling the stanza of the S.T. Coleridge, if I am not wrong, water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink, like that. India wants to create mess under the while violating the international treaty. This is not a treaty of their drawing room.
Okay,
this is
India is creating a mess. So what about, if we talk about, do you not think that what in the pretext of terrorism or countering the terrorism, India belligerently, cowardly attacked the civilians in Pakistan? That was the sheer violation of the international humanitarian law, international human rights law, Geneva Convention, the UN Charter of Sovereignty and all that. And why Pakistan has not to approach United Nations Security Council, push the permanent 5 for a criminal case against India, to invoke at least the International Criminal Court jurisdiction for war crimes, although Pakistan and India both are not the member of Rome Statute. Bringing the resolution against India in the UN General Assembly and the case in the UN Human Rights Council, why not?
This is very effective formula you have described, that Pakistan should invoke the jurisdiction of the United Nations General Assembly under the already passed resolution, because being a member of the United Nations, India is bound to maintain peace India is bound to not to attack the other states' sovereignty, not to attack the civilians under the pretext of the terrorism. If India feels that Pakistan is creating the terrorism activities, what's about the BLA? What's about the funding across border, this
What's
sponsorship
about the
to
Fitna al-Kharij, the TTP?
Yep.
And all of the terrorist groups who are operating in Afghanistan
But
now.
what is the solution of the problem? This is mere tug of the war. What is the solution of the problem? How to resolve the issue? How to get away from the issues and challenges? Pakistan must prepare a dossier for the United Nations General Assembly, which has the right to suspend the membership of
And
the
all
India.
the authentic proofs
Authentic-
and
There is
credible evidences in black and white must have to be placed before the world, particularly in the form of a dossier, as you have rightly. But earlier also Pakistan has given lots of dossiers. Adeel, Pakistan at least 2 to 3 dossiers already Pakistan placed before the international community. There was no result on that. Now, do you not think that Pakistan has to highlight the grave issue of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as well? Because water actually originates from Kashmir, basically. The situation across the world, especially when India exploited the Pahalgam false flag operation to justify war crimes, the mass arrests, extrajudicial killings, genocide, ethnic cleansing, accelerated demographic changes through the different means of killing people over there and having the fake domiciles and all that in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. How do you see this situation across
This
the
is a
board?
very pertinent question right in the background of the parliamentary delegation which is being sent to abroad. As I already said that it's a right time that Pakistan has to expose all those nexus being established by Indian administration raw in Pakistan in context of terrorism and all those outfits, RSS and all those terrorist organizations which are being placed in Indian occupied Kashmir, in India as well. So it's a right time, but the one question is that you have asked that it's a right time to highlight all those human rights violations being done in Indian occupied Kashmir. This is the delegation, parliamentary delegation, which is being sent to abroad. But I have a question as a journalist. Why there is no Kashmiri in that delegation? Why? If there is an issue of Kashmir, is a bone of contention between Pakistan and India, there should be an icon from at least Azad Jammu and Kashmir in this delegation. This is one question. On the other hand, as per my sources, are being told that Pakistan has prepared a dossier in the background of terrorism, and that dossier is being taken by parliamentary delegation to abroad. That would be presented to all those high excellencies or icons in staying in abroad, just to show the angle of terrorism which is being launched by India and Pakistan. On the other hand, Indian administration has sent a delegation in the leadership of Shashi Tharoor, yes. Shashi Tharoor, but they are going to present a case against Pakistan in context of their supposed terrorist organizations being stations being
You
in
are absolutely
Azad
right.
Jammu
You
and
are absolutely
Kashmir.
right, because
so this is the difference
because Pakistan is not only the sufferer of terrorism, but the state-sponsored terrorism is going on in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as well.
Yeah.
So we have to present this case on both fronts, internationally.
Yeah.
That is very important, and there must have to be someone who must represent the Kashmir.
Vulnerable, who is vulnerable.
Definitely. Who are definitely those must have to be the part of it. Advocate Khudayar Mohla Sahab, why international community, including the United Nations Security Council and the Human Rights Council, actually failed to act Pakistan's detailed dossiers exposing Indian alleged financing, training, abetting and support of the terrorist groups, including this Fitna al-Kharij TTP and BLA. Despite the killing of thousands of civilians and the security personnel in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan and across Pakistan. And what Pakistan has to do in this regard most urgently, what is required actually?
First of all, I'll respond to the second part of your question, because first part must be asked from the relevant persons, because they are not, if they are not trying, they are not applying the law, what is the reason behind, well known to them. Yeah. Pakistan must come forefront of the diplomacy. This is the time. This is the right time. India has provided us to represent our case before the international fora. the organization of Islamic countries as well, must I say. United Nations General Assembly, United Nations Security Council. You know, United Nations Security Council has the power to depute forces,
The peacekeeping forces.
peacekeeping forces against the countries who are not observing the law, international law. But Pakistan must go for the diplomacy. The participation of the stakeholder must be there, number one. Secondly, we must go for the advisory, to invoke the advisory jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice. At least there would be a big question mark on the role of the India, because since, if I'm not wrong, since the 2016, aggressiveness from the Modi government we are facing on, we are witnessing on. If we can't prosecute them, we must raise the big question mark before the International Arbitration Council as well as. We have the permanent commission. We should request for the fact-finding commission as well from the United Nations. At least there would be some suggestion to resolve the issue, the International Water Treaty issue, to resolve the Jammu and Kashmir issue, to resolve the terrorism issue, if they blame us. Do you think this is justified act under the water treaty, under the pretext of the terrorism, they are stopping the water for us?
This is not.
No, this is because, you know,
Absolutely
from
not.
the western side, I was examining from the western river side, Pakistan's agriculture, irrigation, the largest irrigation system is there. Saying that Punjab irrigation system depending upon the eastern water system, and Pakistan is the custodian of that under the IWT. And like 110,000 kilometers, square kilometer land is irrigated through this system. How they can stop this?
Definitely, definitely. Your point well taken. Dr. Waseem, how do you see Indian Army using its official social media accounts to spread malicious propaganda against Pakistan? I'm just giving you only one example when Indian Army spread the fake news regarding Pakistan's Shaheen ballistic missile to attack Golden Temple or the Sikh community. Then Indian media spread that fake, fabricated and fictitious news, although entirely it's not the case, and so that the Indian Army actually deleted the post soon afterwards. How much it's important to exploit at this whole scenario at the international front? This is just the one example I'm quoting. There are lots of other examples, unfortunately, that Indian Army is playing as a tool in the hands of Modi regime right now.
Faisal, this unfortunately is a credibility gap between how the Indian Information Ministry and how the Indian media, and especially the army, has been handling its social media and all other accounts. They have faced reversals on all these fronts. And just start see from Balakot incident until today in last 5, 6, 7 years. This was just not just the one example. We have many examples where they have used this disinformation campaign and fake news, and has always been portraying themselves as one, the victim, and second as the victors. So I'm sorry to say that unfortunately, in the environment where we have an absolute battlefield transparency, and an environment where the international media, the international actors, everybody is looking at the environment between India and Pakistan and watching it very closely. So we have seen that all the government, the ministries, their defense and the army and their spokesperson, everybody has been facing reversals, and the media has been facing reversals. So having fake news and then trying to pass on the information and pass on the bug to somebody else and then trying to retreat. This has been their phenomenon since last many years. So therefore, the world has now acknowledged that whatever India has been saying is all fabricated. It is not supported by any empirical evidence, and the kind of strategic miscalculation which they made for attacking against Pakistan, they have faced reversals, and the balance of power and the deterrence has been restored. Pakistan has come out to be a very responsible nuclear state and very responsible state in the Committee of Nations. We have been absolutely fair and transparent in whatever we have presented, and the world has highly acknowledged it. in terms of the Indian losses, in terms of whatever happened on our side, we have been absolutely fair.
Very
And the
transparent.
world
But
has regarded it
Dr.
and
Waseem,
respected
what
it.
you think about it, that how much important it is to activate our missions across the world, especially our mission at the United Nations regarding aggressive diplomacy, how much effective it would be regarding United Nations as a platform for resolving Pakistan-India disputes, considering India's global diplomatic influence and the veto-aligned alliances, while what's the vitality of the United Nations military observer group for India and Pakistan in a way that enhances international monitoring, credibility and deter India's aggressions, particularly along the line of control?
Faisal, all along since last many years, I've always been saying that we have to adopt a proactive diplomacy, not a reactive diplomacy. But what we have seen, the litmus test of our success has been this current standoff. Pakistan has stood out to be victorious on the military battlefield, in air, in missiles, as well as in diplomacy. The complete world has acknowledged that. Today, we, as a responsible nuclear state, has improved our relevance with the great powers, China, Russia, United States, the regional powers, the Arab countries, GCC countries, all and on the Muslim community as a whole. So I think our diplomacy and this current standoff provided us an opportunity which we have cashed to a maximum extent. And today also our foreign ministers in China, and we are having a bilateral as well as trilateral summit with China, Afghanistan and Pakistan as well, and Pakistan-China bilateral as well. So we have now a huge leverage, and this opportunity has been provided to us. We need to reactivate all our embassies abroad, and especially in the United States and United Nations and in Geneva. So we have to work day and night and convince the international community that we were at the brink of nuclear flashpoint, from where we have now started gradually coming back. Kashmir is an issue, and we have seen the United States government has been involved in saying that they are happy to facilitate on Kashmir dialogue with Pakistan and India. So now there is a great change even in the United States thinking. There has been a change in terms of the Russia-Pakistan relations and Russian outlook towards South Asia. And China has always been our all-weather strategic partnership.
So, Dr. Waseem, you are talking about the proactive approach. When we are talking about the proactive approach, what would be the ultimate tools to have, particularly when we are confronting now lots of issues beside those Sir Creek or the Siachen? Now we have the Kashmir issue, we have the water issue, we have the terrorism issue, the state-sponsored terrorism from India, we have the issue of target killing across Pakistan, which is sponsored by India from the third country. So how we can tackle the huge issues and how we are going to follow each and everyone across the world, because it needs a sustainable approach and a very proactive approach, as you have rightly pointed out.
There are two, the recipe is very simple and straightforward: whole of government approach and whole of nation approach. And we have aptly demonstrated both of these during our current standoff. Now we need to capitalize on the gains. We don't have to just sit down and celebrate. Yes, celebration is our right, but we have to move forward now. We have embassies in lot many countries, and I don't want to say that all those should be energized right away. But certainly, the primary job of all the embassies is to actually project the viewpoint of your country with the host country. So I said that all these embassies should take this issue of Kashmir and nuclear flashpoint and overall stability in South Asia and meet with the host countries and convince them. We need to re-engage with the great powers now. With this standoff, and Pakistan's diplomatic victory and the military victory has raised our stature. Now I think, in my humble opinion, the China, Russia and the United States and also the regional powers, and especially in the Middle East, would certainly take us, not the pre-Pahalgam. Now Pakistan is far more different than the previous, how it used to be conceived. I don't say on the factual grounds, it was used to be perceived as such. So now this has provided us the opportunity to engage with all three great powers from the position of strength, re-energize our diplomatic mission, the United States, in the United Nations and in Geneva, and then reach out to all the host countries wherever we have embassies and all those countries whose embassies are here in Pakistan through our foreign office. So this is the multi-dimensional approach where we have to move forward. Secondly, to create national harmony, we need to pursue the same agenda as we have been doing during that standoff. The media has to be used, think tanks have to be used. Then we need to do a lot of publications on this, and we need to do a lot of programs the way we are doing it today. So that way, multi-dimensional approach with whole of government and whole of nation, we will inshallah
point
stand
well taken.
victorious.
Advocate Khudayar Mohla sahab, how at national level we can strengthen our documentation, the evidence collection, the legal advocacy to withstand international legal scrutiny, and whether our current Pakistani legal and diplomatic framework equipped to sustain complex international arbitration or litigation efforts if we intend to go to any sort of a court, even the court of arbitration, whether it's the International Court of Justice, whether it's the International Criminal Court, or even the United Nations Security Council. So we must have to be prepared legally and obviously with our advocacy campaign through documentation and all that.
Very pertinently, I would say there must be a documentation and evidence collection center across the country, all over the country, under the aegis of the Ministry of Law and Justice, having the participation of our law enforcement agencies representative, the academia, intelligentsia, the member from the Kashmir, as my learned friend has pointed out. So they must devise a strategy, because documentation is directly and indirectly connected with the evidence, and primary evidence in the local courts, regional courts and international court is always appreciated. Otherwise, we have a lot of circumstantial evidence, which is considered to be always considered to be a weak evidence. So first of all, we must establish a documentation and evidence center to grasp the statement, to not grasp it, to record the statement of the affectees, the civilians, the people across the border, people who are residing near the line of control, the people of Kashmir, that we will made out our case substantially.
Or the victims
of course,
Indian belligerent attack or the covert
Yes,
attack
of course.
on civilians.
And secondly, what is the mechanism? Because we are surviving in the procedural era. If I am doing the hue and cry, it has nothing to do with the wisdom. This is the time to reinterpret the wisdom of the law.
Yes.
In accordance with the permanent commission aspiration and permanent court of arbitration, because we are going to make a case which should be based on the evidence. And after completion of the documentation process, we must table it before our National Security Council. And for the sake of representation, we must have the intelligentsia. We must also introduce the programs in the university level. Must I say, I used to teach in the university. There should be a specific program over the International Water Treaty, because the research-oriented development would be there, and how to ascertain the truth.
That is very important.
That's
really.
very
No
important.
doubt about that.
So that
Adeel, what structures exist or needed to effectively coordinate and mobilize the Pakistani and the Kashmiri diaspora across the world for sustained global advocacy, so that Pakistan can leverage international human rights groups, the civil society organizations, without appearing to politicize humanitarian or human rights issues, and without Indian exploitation and countermeasures on these issues?
Faisal, you have seen that Pakistan's diaspora and abroad is very healthy. I mean, both in education and both in financial context I am talking about. Like Pakistanis are there, Kashmiris are there. So it's a very right and proactive time for Pakistan to move on two-pronged strategy. Number one is diplomatic moves that is being done by Pakistan. Foreign Office is active, and parliamentary, as I said, that parliamentary delegation is being sent. On the other hand, there is a need to discuss with all those businessmen, all those icons which are giving their services in different areas of abroad. So they should be taught, and the media, that's the prime role of media is just to bracket the terrorism issue. Just to bracket the terrorism issue, either it's mainstream media or social media, we have to make a collective effort to frame this terrorism issue, that the terrorism which is being done in Pakistan, all in all being on the behalf of Indian administration, that is a state-sponsored terrorism. So the second strategy which I have discussed, that is a two-pronged strategy, that is too much effective because it's a people-to-people contact. You have to discuss, you have to express the ideas, you have to show the basic, as my colleague said, that water industry treaty. This is very important. The people who are living abroad, like mostly Kashmiris and Pakistanis, they are having too much concern with this water. As you said, that water is a much
water issue is the lifeline of any country.
So
no
there
doubt
should be a
about that.
two-pronged strategy, as I discussed.
You're absolutely right. Thank you very much, Adeel, for being here in the studios. Thank you very much, Khudayar Mohla sahab, for your presence. And thank you very much, Dr. Waseem, for your presence online. Viewers, you have just listened to our panelists. No doubt that Pakistan is actually confronting these grave challenges at the hand of India. The Indian state-sponsored terrorism, which India is actually utilizing it as a tool of its foreign policy to disrupt peace, stability, economy, investments in Pakistan by using the third country, or might be the fourth country as well. Also, the target killings inside Pakistan. The Kashmir issue, the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, which is right now facing the demographic changes. Unfortunately, the genocide, war crimes and ethnic cleansing going on over there at the pretext of the terrorism which India triggered through the false flag operation in Arslan in Pahalgam. Now, the situation is that India already put on hold or put in abeyance the Indus Water Treaty, which is not actually, there is no provision in the Indus Water Treaty, within the Indus Water Treaty, what we call the Article 12, Clause 4. It is not even the bilateral treaty, it's a trilateral treaty because World Bank is also the guarantor. So our panelists are actually of the view that we must have to approach the World Bank first. World Bank has to appoint either the neutral expert or invoke the court of arbitration. We also have to knock the door of International Court of Justice and invoke the advisory role of International Court of Justice. We also have to approach United Nations Security Council and not only to put a resolution over there against Indian nefarious designs and the hegemonic designs, but also we have to put a resolution in the United Nations General Assembly as well. And we have to knock the door of International Human Rights Council as well, according to the humanitarian law and the Geneva Convention. And what the delegations which are now going towards different parts of the country, we have to activate our missions across the world. We have to activate our Pakistani and the Kashmiri diaspora as well. We have to have some sort of a proactive diplomacy rather than the reactive diplomacy. And we have to move with the whole of the government and whole of the nation approach. This is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.